But Blinken says he's not meeting with China's top diplomats at the G20, despite last month's Chinese spy flight and the country's growing partnership with Russia. Here to react, Asia expert and Gatestone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, thank you so much for being with us. Why won't this administration stand up to China when they're a clear threat? I mean, obviously Russia's a threat too, but especially considering what's happened in the last few weeks with the spy craft, and not only that, but how close China and Russia are getting.
Yes, this really is disturbing. And the point is that every once in a while, Blinken will say something about China. But what we don't see are the policies that are necessary for the urgency of the situation. For instance, the administration will talk about fentanyl. The State Department talked about fentanyl last week, but it didn't mention China. How can you talk about this deadly drug disease that the Communist Party of China is behind? Because they got this near total surveillance state, Ashley, and these fentanyl gangs couldn't operate without the backing, the full backing of the Communist Party. So the administration still has a China problem. It is still bashful. It is not willing to confront in the way that it should.
The lack of any meeting with China as well at the G20 has... How much does that worry you that we are not having open lines of communication? We've heard multiple times they're not returning our calls. How much does that worry you?
I actually don't want to talk to the Chinese right now because we've issued all the warnings that we should. As I said, we're not backing them up. But the point is, we look desperate when we try to establish these lines of communication with Beijing. The cycle is well known. Beijing does something which is completely unacceptable. We look desperate to talk to China. What we should do instead are impose costs on those unacceptable behaviors, because what we have done over the course of decades is to embolden the worst aspects in the Chinese political system by showing that belligerence works.
But are the costs imposed on China, is that enough to really signal to them that we're standing our ground?
Clearly not enough, especially considering what the Chinese have been doing over the course of decades and during the Biden administration. It's not like the Biden administration has done nothing, but what it has done is really half-hearted. It has done the minimum necessary. And we're starting to see polls that the American people are looking at Biden's China policy and saying it's not sufficient to defend the United States. So across the board, we just see a weakness. Beijing sees that and continues those behaviors because they know that there's no cost for doing so.
G20 meeting of world leaders. Looking at China and Russia together, has this Biden administration done enough to basically make those two countries pariahs on the world stage, which is something specifically China is trying to avoid because they don't necessarily want to be a diplomat or have diplomatic problems with a lot of countries when they're really kind of singularly focused on us?
Yeah. The Biden administration doesn't want to acknowledge what the rest of the world can see, and that is China and Russia are now working closely together across the board. The Biden administration will warn China about supplying lethal assistance to Russia, but Beijing has been doing that from the very beginning of this war. And recently, we have seen these reports about China selling drones to the Wagner Group for use in Ukraine. And we hear these reports from the Breaking Defense website that almost every day, a very, very large, actually the largest cargo plane in the world, leaves central China with ammunition and other high consumption rate items. So the Biden administration owes an explanation to the American people. Are these reports false? I believe they're true. But Biden has to say, are these false? And if it's not false, then why has he been lying to the American people about this lethal assistance that has been going on now for about a year?
I won't hold my breath for that report. Gordon Chang, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.